While others talk about the future, we are working on it.
If you like tinkering with electronics, but time constraints and the lack of knowledge are preventing you from making a start, then UniX Multi Purposes is the solution, made by ONGINEERINGco for automation solutions. So what is UniX Multi Purposes? That offered by ONGINEERINGco. UniX Multi Purposes is a controller which can be programmed with easy-to-use several programs like Scratch, LabVIEW, MATLAB, Python, Assembly, C++ and Arduino IDE. UniX Multi Purposes, considered a dual-core controller. The UniX controller made by ONGINEERINGco uses a simplified version from C++, making it easier to learn. The UniX is one of the controllers in ONGINEERINGco family and great choice not only for beginners but also professionals. In this video, we'll talk about what's on it and what it can do. The major components of the UniX Multi Purposes controller are the following: 2 USB connectors, one for each core, power port, analog input pins, digital pins, toggle switch to select mode and reset function, reset connectors, Bluetooth connector, input and output LEDs indicators, low power LP connector. Now let's take a closer look at each component. The first component is the USB connectors. This is a printer USB port used to load a program from any software onto the UniX Multi Purposes controller through the DIY terminal. The UniX controller has another USB connector, which is also a printer USB port, but this is used when you need to update the built-in software that is already exists through the built-in terminal. This is not recommended to do, except you received an email from ONGINEERINGco company to start to update your software, otherwise you are fine. The UniX controller can be powered through any of these USB ports. The next component is the power port. The power source can be connected by plugging in a 9 volts battery into the power terminal of the UniX controller. The UniX controller operates at a voltage of 5 volts, but it can withstand a maximum voltage of 12 volts. If the controller is supplied with a higher voltage up to 12 volts maximum, there is a protection board inside that protect the UniX controller from burning out. Now let's take a look at a very important component. The brain of the UniX Multi Purposes controller is the microcontroller chip by Atmel, a major microcontroller manufacturer. The UniX Multi Purposes has the following components for each core: 1. Flash memory of 32 KB. The program loaded from any software you are using is stored here. 2. RAM of 2 KB. This is runtime memory. 3. CPU. It controls everything that goes on within the device. It fetches the program instructions from flash memory and runs it with the help of RAM. 4. Electrically erasable programmable read-only memory, EEPROM, of 1 KB. This is a type of non-volatile memory, and it keeps the data even after device restart and rest. The microcontroller chips by Atmel used in the UniX Multi Purposes is pre-programmed with bootloader. This allows you to directly upload a new program into the UniX Multi-controller without using any external hardware programmer, making the UniX Multi Purposes easy to use. Next is the analog input pins. The UniX controller has 6 analog input pins, labeled analog 0 to 5. This is an Ethernet port. There is a legend to show you each pin number and matching with its color written on the back of the UniX controller. These pins can read a signal from an analog sensor such as a temperature sensor and convert it into a digital value for system understanding. These pins just measure voltage and not the current because they have high internal resistance. Hence, only a small amount of current flows through these pins. Although these pins are labeled analog and are analog input by default, these pins can also be used as for digital input or output. Now, let's look to the digital pins. You can find these pins labeled digital 0 to 13. Each pin has 3 terminals, one for the ground, the other for the 5 volts, and the pin itself. These pins can be used as either input or output pins. When used as output, these pins act as a power supply source for the components connected to it, and when used as input pins, they read the signals from the component connected to them. When digital pins are used as output pins, they supply 40 milliamps of current at 5 volts, which is more than enough to light a LED. Some of the digital pins are labeled with tilde symbol next to the pin numbers, as seen under pin number 3, 5, 6, 9, 10 and 11. These pins act as normal digital pins, but can also be used for pulse width modulation, PWM, which simulates analog output, such as fading an LED in and out. Now, let's look to toggle switch. This switch has 3 positions: off mode, DIY mode, and built-in mode. You have to use the switch in a proper mode you need, and it is mandatory to use it when you connect your UniX controller with the external 9 volts battery. When this switch is positioned to the off mode, then any of the other 2 modes DIY or built-in, it sends a logical pulse to the rest pins of the UniX controller, and now runs the program again from the start. Also, there's another way to make a reset digitally by sending any pulse trigger to the pin titled as Reset B to reset the built-in core, or the other pin titled as Reset D to reset the DIY core. This can be very useful if your code doesn't repeat and you want to test it multiple times. The UniX controller has a Bluetooth terminal that allows the controller to communicate with the external environment, with the Bluetooth signal coming from any device contains that way of communication. Once you connect your Bluetooth module to the UniX controller, you will have to access it from the built-in USB terminal. Now, the last component is LED's core indicator. These are indicator LEDs, which turned on whenever the UniX controller is using the DIY mode or built-in mode. Also, there is a low-power LP terminal with its LED. This LP terminal will support you with low power when you are operating your UniX controller through the USB terminals only. There is also a built-in LED for pin 10 that you can use it just to test your code, as soon you upload it through the DIY terminal. Now, you have explored the UniX Multi Purposes Controller. You have started your journey toward building your first Internet of Things (IoT) prototype, and here is the whole pinout description for the UniX Multi Purposes Controller. Now, after we finished the general description for the UniX Multi Purposes Controller, and you still have a question, please feel free to schedule your free online personal session through the ONGINEERINGco.com. Also, we need to have your attention. ONGINEERINGco is offering a lifetime warranty for the UniX Multi Purposes Controller, so please read that section in the website ONGINEERINGco.com. However, unlocking the device by any trial or any way will show your warranty is void. The UniX will come to you in a wooden black box with cover and drawer. The drawer will not be open until you break the notch on the cover. By that, we are making sure that you are the first user for the UniX controller, and now you can open the cover to have an access for the controller. On the back of the wooden black box you will see the poster for the UniX with the QR code for quick start guide. Inside the drawer there is USB cable, jumpers and battery connector. The 9 volts battery is not included. You can always use this box to save your controller from damages. Finally, on the back of the UniX, there is a serial number. Whenever you have to ask about anything related to your controller, please send us this number. How to get started. Step 1. Buy your UniX Multi Purposes Controller. Note that we are the only one who is selling it so far, so contact us through the ONGINEERINGco.com for any information. Step 2. Install any of the upcoming software you are good on it, like Scratch, LabVIEW, MATLAB, Python, Assembly, C++, and Arduino IDE. Step 3. Get familiar with any software you like and the programming language by practicing. Step 4. Join our community for practicing on the UniX controller that makes you professionally adapted with the UniX controller. Now bring your ideas to life.